Hey guys, and welcome to Pixel Cherry Ninja's channel. If you're a regular on the channel or you watch my videos frequently, then you know the main thing on this channel is FPGA gaming, and you also know that I really like handheld gaming. So when you combine the two, yes, I'm definitely interested. I like the Analog Pocket, I use it nearly daily, and I'm really looking forward to a MiSTerFPGA handheld whenever that comes. But in between, when there's other projects that look interesting, I definitely want to cover them. So before we go further in, guys, if you love FPGA gaming, then a subscription and a like is super duper appreciated. So in regard to this project, the Game Bub, now I think this came on my radar like some time back, and I featured it in the news video saying this is something that's upcoming. I want to thank everyone that actually tagged me and said, hey Pixel, have you seen this? Because it looks like it's stepping up a gear. Now before I go further in, guys, I do want to say that I ran all this information past a developer friend, and I said, look, what do you think of this? Right, I mean, it's a new project. Do you think it's legit? Do you think it's a scam? Do you think it's going to surface? Do you think it's amazing? Just let me know your take, and I'm going to tell you what my developer friend said. They prefer to remain anonymous, but I can tell you that they have done calls for both the MiSTer and the Analog Pocket. But they said, look, we'll give you the advice, but just, you know, do it anonymously. So I respect that. I also sent the owner of this project an email, and I heard back from them, and they're giving me some information, their take on this. I'll go through and I'll let you know what both of them have said, but I'm definitely interested in this. So what is the Game Bub? Well, in essence, as we can see over here, it's a Game Boy. You can load you can run your cartridge over here, you can load the ROM, and you can see like the insides of it, right? The FPGA board, how it, what it looks like inside, right? Because like a lot of people say, it's the inside that counts. So that we can see Mario Kart running there with a link cable running and connected to another Game Boy. Sorry, swap that over too quick, and that's a Game Boy GBA SP. Again, very, very interesting. You can play it on a dock as well, so there'll be a dock for it. So very, very Analog Pocket style in that sense, but it's not a direct competition with the Analog Pocket. The person behind this, the project owner, has actually said that, and different devices have different use cases. As we can see the dock over here, we've got HDMI out, USB-C, which I imagine is for power, and a couple of standard USB-A ports, which will be for your accessories, your controllers, yada yada yada. And again, just looks really, really nice seeing all this stuff. Hey, big shout out to Apotris, man, very, very good Tetris game. Remember guys, the best Tetris is DMG Tetris, but heck man, Apotris is amazing. If you haven't tried it out, try it out. I've got videos on the channel. I was going to say I've got channels on the video. No, I've got videos on the channel. So let's have a little look at what the Game Bub is. So the Game Bub is an open source FPGA-based retro-emulation handheld that supports Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games. Game Bub can play original game cartridges as well as ROM files loaded from an SD card. When emulating a cartridge, Game Bub has built-in rumble. Okay, that's interesting. Rumble in the jungle. It also has a real-time clock, so I know all you Pokemon guys will be super interested in this. And accelerometer. Okay, I'm not even going to try and say it. I always have difficulty saying that word. And a gyroscope. Hey, at least I got that word right. So most games, no matter how unique, will work the way you expect. Game Bub also supports link cables for playing multiplayer gaming with other Game Bub devices or original Game Boy and Game Boy Advance systems. So that's super interesting. So with the gyroscope in there, was that? Okay, so WarioWare Twisted comes to mind. I was thinking of that Hideo Kojima game. Was it Boktai? But I think that absorbs like sun power, so it's not exactly a gyroscope. Let's just have a little look of this video. It's 2 minutes and 55, but guys, it's looking kind of interesting. So let me just kind of flick through it so we can see some of the stuff. I don't want to play the whole video. I will leave a link to this, all this stuff you're seeing on screen. I'll leave a link to it and you can kind of follow the page. And again guys, it's looking interesting. What else have we got here? Okay, so what's that game with the door? Ah, there we go, Good Boy Galaxy. That's a really good game. It's a modern Game Boy Advance game, and it's well worth playing. And here we go, we got some link cable action, some Mario Kart. And again guys, this just blows my mind. I feel like a kid again when I see this stuff. So built-in clock for all the Pokemon stuff, something that doesn't personally interest me so much, but I know a lot of you guys, especially with the Game Boy Pokemon players, really want that. It's one of the most requested features, at least least when we talk about Analog Pocket and you know, like a new Game Boy Advance core, people are like, oh, we're really waiting for RTC. So really cool. And there you go, you can see a prototype of it here. And you know, compared to other projects out there, I'm not going to give any names, where you know it's all ropey cut animation. At least it looks a lot better than what's kind of out there. So what's it say here? The Game Bub is the first fully open source FPGA retro emulation handheld. Game Bub plays your collection of physical Game Boy Advance cartridges. You can also enjoy the thriving Game Boy homebrew and romhack scene by loading ROMs off your own SD card. No flashcart needed. Game Bub also includes a built-in cartridge backup to restore functionality, never lose a save file again. Okay, so that's interesting. If you've been smashing your Pokemon game for, I don't know, the last 30 years or whatever it came out, you can back up your save. So that's an interesting feature. So no matter how you load your games, you benefit from ultra low input latency and compatibility with a wide array of original accessories. Right, okay, awesome. I wonder if that little light works. Of course it works. You don't need a light, by the way, because these screens are backlit. It's not like the days when you're on a big road trip in the middle of the night with your parents or late at night and you're having to get that torch out to try and play. Okay, so Game Bub modernizes the classic handheld experience with detailed stereo speakers and a vivid backlit IPS screen. You won't need to hunt down AA batteries either. Game Bub has a 15 plus hours of battery life and is rechargeable over USB Type-C. We like USB Type-C, but Game Bub is more than just an FPGA-based handheld. It's fully open source hardware, firmware and gateway, and fully hackable. So you can use it as a portable, self-contained AMD RTX 7 FPGA development platform with unrestricted access to all onboard hardware. With Game Bub, batteries are included literally and figuratively. Develop your own FPGA game cores or use it to build other interactive FPGA experiences with its suite of I/O peripherals and features. Right, and again, you can play it with a dock on a big screen. It looks really good. Okay, so the Game Bub dock is a separate accessory that allows Game Bub handheld to connect to a TV or monitor using its HDMI port. Its dock also adds Bluetooth controller support, so that's like the Analog Pocket dock. It's compatible with Xbox, DualShock, DualSense, Switch Pro, 8-bit and many other controllers. So it looks like it does X input, which is the main one, and I can't remember what Switch uses, whether it's its own protocol or whether it's DIN port, but either way it sounds like a wide variety of controllers, features and specifications. So classic system compatibility, Game Boy compatible cartridge slot for Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance games, custom FPGA cores designed for high accuracy and physical hardware compatibility, built-in ROM loading and backup, GBA type multiplayer link port, also compatible with Game Boy Color, rumble motor for games with force feedback. That really does sound interesting. Accelerometer, and I think I got it right that time, and gyroscope for compatible games, real-time clock. Okay, so modern system specs. FPGA built around the powerful AMD RTX 7X C7A 100T FPGA with 101,400 logic cells and 607.5 kilobytes KIB of block RAM. MCU ESP32 S3 microcontroller for auxiliary tasks. Wireless 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi and Bluetooth LE. Okay, that's interesting. Wi-Fi as well and Bluetooth LE. Memory 32 megabits, so is that MIB of SDRAM, I think that's megabytes, and 512 KIB of SRAM connected to the FPGA. 3.5-inch screen, which is 480 by 320 as an IPS LCD. Audio 1-watt speaker, TRS headphone jack. Input 12 buttons, okay, for the FPGA, 4 additional system buttons for the MCU only. Expansion PMOD header, storage micro SD card, power USB Type-C, 15 plus hour in-game time. That's a respectable game time. I mean, you can go all day with that. Optional dock, HDMI out and wireless controller compatibility, simultaneous charging. So open source game, as it says. The Game Buzz is fully open source, and we'll have a look at the GitHub repository in just a second. Interested in the project, you can sign up top of this page. I've signed up to it. It is at the top of the page, and you can be notified when the campaign launches, receive other updates. We only send out relevant content, and you can unsubscribe at any time. And guys, I just want to say, look, whenever you are So whenever you are backing a project, right, and you're backing a crowdfunding project, just understand there's always an element of risk, right? It could be that something could go wrong. It could be a scam. It could be a well worthwhile project that you're going to get and you're going to absolutely love. But just know anything, the potential for anything to happen can happen. I always say do your own research, have a look at it. You know, do your due diligence, speak to people in the community, speak to the people behind the project, right? Now, based on my interactions, I've had a few emails going back and forth today. I can genuinely say that the guy sounds okay, because I've spoken to a few projects in the past where sometimes it's just crazy. They make absolutely no sense and a lot of red flags arise. In the case of Game Bub, honestly, not a single red flag so far. Everything is good, everything is dandy, everything is clear. And what's really cool as well is, look, if we just head over to the GitHub, you can see everything there. They've got docs, they've got firmware, FPGA, what PCB they're using, some Python stuff there. Again, a lot of this goes above my head, but they've got everything laid out there. But again, guys, I will always stress, always do your due diligence. Like I'm hyped about this project. I'm very hyped about it, and hopefully, you know, I can get myself some kind of early build. And yes, depending on my financial situation at the time, if I've got the disposable income, yes, then this is something that I would like to get. Right, okay, so when I ran this past my friend, a developer who has developed cores for MiSTer and the Unlock Pocket, yeah, they kind of, right, okay, so I asked them, you know, what do you think? Does it seem legit? You know, do you know anything about this? And their first thing was, look, it does seem legit, and it's very similar to other FPGA or other Game Boy FPGA projects. We're talking like the GB FPGA, and what's the other one by Mod Retro was it, that Game Boy that they released, and it's similar to the Goldwyn FPGA that they use, apart from this one is a lot more powerful. So, okay, next part here. The FPGA seems close to that of MiSTer, apart from the lack of HPS. This uses an ESP32 externally. Memory is limited, so this is what my friend is saying, right? Some cores like CPS2 and Neo Geo may not be possible, right? This device won't be able to run anything that requires more than 32 megabytes to store ROMs. So anything that requires more than 32 megabytes is a no-no on here. One of the main issues that they pointed out was the main issue is when porting to these devices is the lack of scaler. I don't know if there's one implemented, but usually that's the annoying part. You know, if you want to get a core running in 256 by 224 to display it correctly on a 480 by 320 display, right? So like I said, I've been speaking to the project owner as well, and they said, right, so I asked them before even looking on their page, is this a port of the MiSTer core? Because we know with the Mod Retro, they used the core, and that was actually a port of the MiSTerFPGA core. They said no. Oh, sorry, pardon me, I've clicked it out here, my bad, guys. Right, okay, so no, so the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance core are their original cores, written from scratch. And they're not ports of MiSTer cores, because MiSTer cores don't use cartridges and link cables, and that's what they wanted. So they have built their cores from scratch, and hopefully they are good cores, and it'll be nice to compare them with like the MiSTer core, which we know is excellent. We know Robert Pape's currently working on a cycle accurate Game Boy Advance core. So next part, I kind of asked, look, have you got any developer interest in this? Is anyone else on board? Does someone want to port cores over? And they said, look, there has been some interest from several developers. But as the project is open source, theoretically anyone can develop for it, right? And I said, look, would you port over MiSTer cores after, whichever ones can fit on this? And the developer behind this said, yeah, down the line, possibly they may look at bringing MiSTer cores, porting MiSTer cores over, but currently it's not a priority. And the cores are written in a language called Chisel, CHISEL, which is based on Scala. And I think that's like Scala, that's the language null object Josh was using. And I know people that have taken over his work are kind of rewriting those cores. So I don't know, it might be a difficult language, or it might not be the kind of industry standard. But again, it's open source, people can kind of do what they want with it. Okay, so they also said it's not really direct competition for the Analog Pocket or the MiSTer. It's a crowd-funded open source project, and I think you know, that's the main advantage here. Obviously, it's hackable, and it's it's hackable, and you can pretty much do what you want with it once you have it. So pricing of it, it's not going to be as cheap as this, the FPGA-based kit. It's more likely going to be closer to the price of an Analog Pocket. So really interesting here, guys. I'm definitely interested in this. Share your thoughts with me, like, about this, but it does sound good. If you're interested in this, you know, sign up, link in the description, sign up for this, keep updated with it. Always do your due diligence. But I have to say that my interactions with the developer so far have been good. I would like, for example, if the crowdfunding campaign was up, and like I said, if I had the money, then the wife kind of allowed me, I think I would be gang from this based on the confidence that I've gotten from speaking from the developer. I will hopefully have the developer or behind this project up on the channel one day. I'd like to have them for a live stream Q&A, so you can have any questions. Naturally, that'll be done with plenty of notice. We'll make it an event, but it's interesting seeing stuff like this in the space here. It definitely excites me, and I'm sure it excites many of you too. But that's it for this video, guys. I certainly hope you enjoyed it. Be freaking awesome to one another. This is Pixel Cherry Ninja out.